they may have $1 billion.
You don't believe that at all.
Not being in person is better.
That is as troll as it gets. 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Buckle Up.
Buckle up, baby.
I guess
our first Zoompisode.
It's a Zoompisode. I guess it's fitting, Michael, that our 10th episode, episode 10, is on Zoom. I don't know why it's fitting, but something about it feels appropriate. For like,
well, it's
a callback to.
It would have been an easy one to skip. Also,
that's right. Maybe that's what it is, and it's a callback to our original idea. To the folks out there who are wondering, Michael and I attempted this podcast once and failed so miserably. When we were like, "Hey, it's lockdown, it's quarantine. What a great opportunity to do something like this, like a podcast over Zoom." And at the time I was living in LA and he was on the East Coast, and we tried a few, and then we skipped like the third one. And what happened?
Yeah. And that did it. And then that was the end.
That was the bullet. It all fell apart.
Yeah. So it's fitting because you're in LA, I'm in New Jersey, and this would have been an easy one to skip, but you made the time.
Shout out to the folks at Snapple for sponsoring this episode. It's really
Thank you,
great.
Snapple. Thank you, Snapple, so much. Is it still made from the best stuff on earth?
Remember that big lady who used to be like made from the best stuff on earth?
Yeah, she's great. She used to sit next to my friend at Jets games.
Really?
It's true. Yeah.
Is her name Barbara?
I'm sure it is.
The Snapple lady used to sit with your friend at Jets games. What friend? I mean,
she used to go to Jets games just like everybody else.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
She's killing it, man.
Yeah. You think she made enough on those commercials to do whatever she wants the rest of her life?
I don't know, but that is a question that you're always after. You're always after, like, do you think like that person do you think they're like finished? I don't know why you're always after. You're always very curious about when people can just stop.
That's true.
You have a lot of anti-ambition in you that we've been fighting against.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I'm coming to terms with that. But I'm curious. I'm curious what someone does after. I think it also comes from, what does someone do after they're the Snapple lady? You almost have to make enough to live off the rest of your life, because you can't get a normal job, and you probably can't get acting jobs because you're the Snapple lady. My
guess is you're fine moving on from it, and I would imagine. For her, it's not like it's Hermione Granger, Harry and Daniel Radcliffe after a massive franchise. Like, how do you shake that off and move on? I mean, it's the Snapple lady. So, like, I'm sure it's
20
one of those
years
things.
later, we know.
We haven't seen her. You're right. She fell off the face of the earth, but made from the best stuff on it.
You say Snapple lady, and you know exactly who she is. I bet you 9 out of 10 people know who the Snapple lady is.
100%. First of all, though, if you bumped into the Snapple lady in the street, you would not recognize her. You just like know her in the context of the commercial. You couldn't pick her.
If I heard her voice, maybe.
Do you have a poster of the Snapple lady right there next to you or something? Like, you're a huge fan. This is unbelievable. But I would say this.
She's my aunt.
I'm sure if we spoke to her about it, she would say, "Oh yeah, listen, the Snapple gig. That was a good gig. Yes, I did the Snapple commercials in the 90s. Yes, it's one of those things. It probably comes up with people who meet her. Oh my God, was that? Yes. But I don't think she's rolling in it to the point where she could just stop. I'm sure she had to move on to other things and did a bunch of things, and that was like one of her really good gigs. That's my guess.
We should find her and have her on the podcast.
Honestly,
we could probably get her on the podcast.
Obscure 90s celebrities is a I think a good niche for us to find. Talk to us about your journey.
I think we should do that.
I'm gonna task.
That's a really good goal.
I'm gonna task you with that because you have the friend from the Jets game. Who can find her.
Do it.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I could do that. I could ask my manager, and he'll just stop answering my emails finally.
So Michael's mission for the podcast is to find the Snapple lady. And we'll have her on.
We're going to have her on.
Anyway, so this is episode 10. Michael
survived.
We, survived what? In life?
COVID? Yeah.
I don't know, but your picture froze. How's your internet? Oh, good. It froze right on.
Yeah, you froze also.
I'm not sure if it's me or you, but you were like, I hope she survived.
Yeah. Oh, my internet's it's not great. Oh, you froze again.
No, that was me just being frozen.
Um,
Unless I did freeze again.
no.
Episode
Let's see if I keep freezing, I'll move to a new spot.
All right, whatever. We'll make it work. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah. So anyway, episode 10 is a feat, Michael. I think making it to 10 episodes in, something to be proud of.
Mm-hmm.
We spent a lot of time.
Yeah, me too.
We spent a lot of time.
I'm proud of us.
We do spend a lot of time congratulating ourselves on this podcast for having conversations we otherwise would also have.
That's true. It's hard to see something through, even a little bit.
I guess that's a good healthy
I think it's worth celebrating. How do you feel after 10? How do you feel where we're at?
I like it. I like that. I was with, maybe I won't name names yet, but I was with somebody we both know well, who out of nowhere drops, loving the conversations, bro. You know, like it's more around it's a hit more people than we think. And I think it's, every time it hits somebody, they usually are struck positively by it. And I feel like there's a lot of encouragement, implicit and explicit, happening where I'm like, wow, like it's just that it's real. It's happened. We've made it. We've accomplished that hardest first step of making something tangible, a 10 episode up to episode 10 and beyond. But this thing that we do now is a thing that exists. We have a podcast that is happening. I'm very happy about that, because that was much more painful existing in my mind as a hypothetical. And now it doesn't. And that feels good. You know, I really honestly don't. This is the first time where I don't care yet about the numbers or the likes or the this. Obviously, I'm looking for that to see what happens, but I'm much more satisfied with the fact that it exists. That's like an accomplishment to me in of itself. And that if you think about this podcast excluded, where we started just in 10 episodes with like 2 microphones sitting in an unfinished studio at a bunch of chairs with a crappy little camera above us, to like behind you where we kind of have a consistent space like each episode it starts to like, it feels like this like thing we're building where each time in like a movie it's like and like we're building a Frankenstein kind of thing, and then eventually it's like and it like each time it grows a new limb, it grows a thing, it keeps like another layer of brick is put down where as a solid foundation for something. And then maybe guests start to come. But like when we started, it couldn't have looked the way it looks now. And then in 50 episodes, it'll be better. Like, and I like that. So the constant, very gradual, improvement, ascension is good. I like that.
Is there a scenario, let's say by episode, maybe let's say that next milestone is 50.
The answer is no. Yeah.
Is there a scenario where we're at 50 and you're like, we should not, we there's no point in going forward through the dip any further?
You can't wait.
What would it have to look like at episode 50?
It would have to look, you just really want out. I get it. But it would have to, I think doing that is such a disservice, because if you set artificial goalposts or metrics, like you won't hit them, and then you'll be like, oh, see, it's not working. I just look at trajectories, basically. If things feel like they're resonating and improving and getting better and on their way, and if it points this way, like, then I keep going. And then if it and if that's just a matter of timing and pace, then I just have to be patient with it, because like I wouldn't want to ever cut something off that is on a successful trajectory, So
as long as the curve is going upwards, you're okay with it?
As long as the curve's going upwards, as long as I'm enjoying it, as long as I find that the conversations are fruitful and valuable and it's fun to do, and it's also, and I don't mean fun in like an artificial way. I mean like I get something out of it, or we get something out of it, and the creative pursuit is satisfying. And obviously you want to make it something real, but I do think it's doing something. For us, I think it's like a really cool, whatever combination we've created of this little entity that we're doing. It's something cool. So I owe it to that to pursue it, to its, it's hard to put timings on like when something is a beginning, middle, or an end of something, or if it morphs into something else. But it's also good practice. It's good for me. It's good for us. It's cool to like, keep getting better at something that I think is worth watching. People are like really liking the clips and stuff too. And I sort of get it. Cause I'll tell you what, like you have these reference points when you're in a creative endeavor, you kind of, unless you're trailblazing and creating something that's never been done before. We are certainly not the first podcast to ever exist. And we're not the first new podcast of people just trying to do it. But I look at other podcasts, and in my best efforts to be objective about it, which is impossible because this is our own podcast, I look at successful ones that you would deem successful, that are really doing well and have big audiences, and are sustaining the people creating it. And I'm like, qualitatively, doesn't seem all that different from what we're doing. I don't think, I don't think we're not that far off from what that is. It's just a matter of their grind, and their timing has been a longer game, and they've been exerting it. But I actually think like that's the key to me. Like there's no code to crack. I think it's about having naturally good rapport and having interesting enough ideas to discuss that are worth listening to. And when I listen to other people's podcasts, that by comparison, it's only a matter of size of audience and not the content itself that I find to be different. And that's encouraging to me. So that's where I stand. I think that's a healthy way to look at it, as opposed to like, if we're not by a certain point, by a certain date, it's like then you're looking at it by the backwards way, I think.
Right. But if it's stalled, let's say it's stalled, and like we were getting the same amount of views at episode 25, 50, 100, would that, let's say it was a flat curve. We flattened the curve.
Hold on.
But you were,
yeah.
Was I frozen?
I don't know. I got a phone call. Let's say we flatten the curve. Michael, you're never getting out of this. Okay? You signed a contract, and you're never getting out of this. It's like, look at Michael's trying to quit. He's like, okay, but let's say you lose a foot. I don't know. I can only go take it one.
What if I sue you? What if by episode 50 we're in a very heated lawsuit?
Nope.
What if we need a lawyer, 2 lawyers in the room present with us when we speak?
Michael, we have to record tomorrow. That's what I would say. Your Honor. Are you asking out of curiosity over what is a healthy way to look at creative endeavors? Is that your point, or I'm curious?
No. I guess it's sort of like a state of the union, like where if you think we've done, if you're happy with where we're at 10, and what you want to keep seeing going forward. It's not really it's a pretty specific question of like.
Yeah, I think the answer is this, and it's a little bit of a frightening answer, because I think that like you just kind of morph and adapt when you get into those, when you reach those points where you have to sort of reevaluate things, you morph and adapt, right? So like Steve Jobs, right? He didn't say, look, if this computer thing, this first manifestation of the app doesn't take off, I'll stop. He just says, no, I'm exerting my skills, my vision, and wherever that goes and wherever that hits, my energies and efforts are continuous. That's like that entrepreneurial spirit that I think is really valuable, and it applies to things. And then you kind of push in one, and then it's sort of like water, right? You're just trying to maneuver it through this maze of everything that we're trying that people put out into the world. It's like with my band, right? With us, we had different things that we did over the years, but our energy stayed consistent. And then where things took us, they took us. So you're on this ride with me now, and we're staying the fucking course. No, so I mean, that's how third. What's up?
Go ahead.
I'm just saying that's how I look at it. Like, I don't think like I'll just put a certain amount of things. If I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. And then and I'm going to try and be experimental about it. Obviously there's a point where you can shift, but I look at it more like shifts than calling it quits, like shifting into something.
That.
Or like, okay, you know what was working? We actually did this live event and everybody showed up and then we sold a bunch of tickets. So now we do the podcast live and now we actually do, or whatever. I mean, you'd probably shit your pants. I don't know if we could do that, but no, but in reality, it's like, who knows? I don't know what a month or a year from now looks like. All I know is what I can do every week and week by week and every day, right? All I know is what I can do every day. And if I'm not applying myself and ourselves to this or whatever it is that I'm doing in the moment, whatever project it is, if I'm not, then that is ultimately I'm accountable for it not succeeding, you know? But as long as I've done whatever I think I can do, then it's up to sort of the whims of the universe to decide where things happen. As long as I've done my part, I feel okay with it. When I haven't, then I get annoyed. Then I'm like, yeah, obviously there's no podcast because we haven't done one. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Right. So if I had to shift into a new like co-host, that would be a positive. That would be a step in a positive direction, I guess, at a certain point.
Well, bring it on.
So you're doing a show in 2 hours?
Yeah, doing it
at the Mint.
You say that with a little bit of tease, but that's fine.
No, I don't. I'm not saying it. I mean, I guess it's the only venue I see you guys playing with.
You're like, is it at the Mint?
What is the Mint? I don't know what the Mint is.
The Mint is a club.
You have a residency there?
No, but they book us sometimes. It's a club in LA in like the neighborhood that we lived in, but it's the Mexicali Blues of Pico. Get it?
Got it. Got it.
Enough said.
I do get
Hotel Cafe is a little more.
Hotel Cafe, that's the one I was thinking of.
Yeah, the Mint has a little more like rock club vibes to it, and Hotel Cafe is more of like a prominent singer-songwriter joint where a lot of people who became very well known over the years kind of started at the Hotel Cafe. So it has like its prominence and it has its respect as a well-known venue. Like the way the Comedy Cellar to comics, like people come by. So Hotel Cafe will have people come in who are, you know, of all stripes, but of a certain caliber, and they'll have, you know, John Mayer secret shows and Ed Sheeran live stream from Hotel Cafe, and we're playing there in a few hours, which is great. We haven't been there in a long time. We used to play there in the early days when we started. They were very friendly to us. They liked us a lot. The owner was a friend of the band, and he would book us a lot. So we're in good graces with them, and you know, we have a good relationship with them. So
that's all. So do they book you, or you ask to play tonight?
This one came about, I think we reached out about dates. You know, that's how it works. At a certain point, when you sort of can show that you can put on a good show and bring some people, you know, you can have good relationships with bookers and club owners and say, hey, we're going to be back here in December. Any dates? Yeah, I can give you such and such date. Are you guys available this? And we say, sure. And then that's it.
Cool. That's awesome. So how do you feel 2 hours pre-show? What's your usual routine?
I usually do a podcast. Hey, how do I feel? Well, I'm always happy to have a show right after another show because the second show is inevitably much looser. So we played a concert last night, and there's no better rehearsal for a show than like a show. So last night was a corporate gig, a private party for a client that we had written a song with. We did a workshop for. So having that before a show is nice because then you're really like just warmed up by the second show. You just feel loose, you know?
Right.
Like when you do a tour, it's like the last night of the tour. The last night of a week's run of shows is great because you're just like, oh, all the nerves are out and you can just have a good time.
Are you nervous when you get up now? At like the corporate show, you had nerves?
No. But it just loosens you up. Every set sort of has its songs that are more like less loose than other songs, that you're less relaxed or whatever. I wouldn't call it nerves anymore. Like nerves, you have to be, some songs are harder work than other songs, depending on where you are in the set. Like sometimes it takes 4 or 5 songs to be like, all right, now like I can just loosen up, you know? It's just it's a
so you didn't answer the question though. What's the pre-show routine?
Oh yeah. You asked a bunch of bundled questions. So you said, what's the routine? and had. Anyway, next question. I don't have a routine. I don't know. I'm gonna probably take a shower. I will probably maybe eat a little something. I usually pound food after the show than before, but because I'm feeling pretty relaxed for this one, I might have a little something.
You feel like you earned.
The only type of routine I would say I have is like vocal warm-ups, like, you know, and they sound pretty nerdy, you know. You're like woo! And they're very hard to do in front of people, but they're healthy for your voice.
So do you do them alone at home, or where do you do them, in the green room?
Usually alone or in the car, because they're too loud in front of people. You know, and you
Interesting.
Don't do them. You take a straw, you blow some bubbles. There are things to do for your voice to help it warm up.
Do the three of you guys hang out together before the show and talk, or is it like, I would just want to be alone, don't talk to me, I gotta like get in the zone?
No, we're fine.
I'm curious about this stuff.
Okay, we generally meet about an hour before or something like that, and we have a thing called protocols. Who's allowed to say what on stage, who's not allowed to say anything, who's sort of punished from the last show. I've made all that up. I just know you like some of that juice. None of that happens. No, yeah, you get there about 45 minutes before, and in the green room, you run a few things that may be rustier than other things. It's a lot more boring than you think. I have a feeling you want to assume that there's weirder things that happen, but I think a lot of
no, I'm just curious, like if I was performing, I would want to be in my head preparing for it,
right,
mentally, and not hanging out with anybody.
Yeah, I think that all these questions would be much more directly answered in the like early days of performing, when like it was a big, like when everything was sort of just overwhelming and it was like a bigger deal, and I had to like, you know, the idea, I don't knock if people have routines and have a bunch of things, but once you've been doing it a really long time, you don't depend on these like artificial constructs that make you crazy. It's like, no, it's a part of what you do. And like having enough stage time in that capacity, in that context, doing it for so long means you can live a normal life and then get up and perform. And I think I'm happy that I'm in a good place that I can do that, where I don't need to have a whole thing to happen. I'm not like a diva like that. And when it becomes something you've done and you're comfortable doing, it doesn't mean that some shows, and if you're prepared, like I feel pretty prepared now, so I'd be probably a little more on edge. There's also an angst. You get a little bit impatient. I don't like getting the club too early, because you don't like to wait and exhaust your nerves and energy waiting to get on stage. That could be annoying. But you know, after doing it a long time, I haven't set up these like rules of things I need done in a certain way. Otherwise I feel weird going into the show. Certain people are like that, I guess. But a lot of people I've met are just like, yeah, it's a part of the thing. I'm sure from your angle and your perspective, because it's not something you've done, it's like, you know, it sort of takes on a certain, like, you know, what's the word? It's pedestal a little bit into something like a bigger deal in a sense, or like something more, you know, but yeah, like if I'm doing a stand-up or something like that, I'm a little more on my own alone thinking about things, because I'm less seasoned for it. So it requires a little more of me, just, you know, but I still can hang out and I still want to be. I don't want to be crippled by pre-show ritual or things like that. So
yeah. Not even a ritual, just a headspace you like to be in.
Yeah, I mean, there are people.
But I guess
I don't knock it. I just, like, for me, I'm glad I don't really feel like I have to have that, and I could feel relaxed beforehand. The only thing is, like, for like actual practical purposes, vocal warm-ups and things like that, and make sure I'm drinking and hydrating and all that is important. And not I'll tell you something here. Okay, I don't like hanging out outside the band before the show.
Okay, now we're getting somewhere.
Yeah. And that's because I don't, first of all, want to talk too much, because it's always loud in a club.
Right. There are all these things. Why have you been holding out?
I forgot. Well, that's once I get to the club, not like before the show. Once I'm at the club, I don't like socializing after, because first of all, I'm going to wear my voice out.
Before you, man.
Thank you so much. and everybody's kind of there to. I've talked about this with you, where you need to decompress after the show, I guess. And I guess that this isn't a ritual, but it's more like a preference. Like I don't want to be.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah,
that's what I mean.
So preference-wise, I want to be in the green room and all of that, just so I can be removed from the whole everything happening. Because one, I feel bad if my head is not. If it's not in it, focused on people, I'm too much in my own head in that sense. So I'm going to not be fun to talk to anyway.
And you find your fans a little bit like not trustworthy.
What does that mean?
I don't know. So you like to be with the band, getting in the zone with the band. Getting your chemistry on
because
point.
If I'm out there, I'll be like, I'll be like this. I'll be kind of. First of all, I don't want to come off like that. Like I'm self-conscious about seeming standoffish. You can't give people the attention that maybe that they deserve. They're coming to see you, and they're your friends. A lot of them who've come in, and you've asked them to come, and they've come. So you want to be like giving and be like, yeah, but you're about to like give a ton on stage, and you don't want to wear your voice out. So I do like to be removed from that from that scene until after. Once the show's done, then I can just let loose and chill. But before that, I guess I prefer not to be out there, out and about, schmoozing with everyone, because you got to save up on that. That's like your energy.
Right. All right.
I also detest them. No. Okay. That makes sense. I guess that's true. That's true.
That's what I meant. That's what I meant. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
So we got to do a short episode today because you got to go. But I wanted to give a little update on the crypto research I've been doing.
Oh,
so last time we talked about Web3 and how you take your stuff from Web3 application to Web3. It's like, no one owns it. You own it and you take it from place to place.
Yeah.
So I think I cracked a little bit about practically how that's done.
Are we going to fund this podcast?
The keyword here, what?
Keep going. Keep going.
And the keyword is wallet. So you keep all your shit in a crypto wallet. And literally practically there's a Chrome plugin, a popular one. It's called MetaMask. And then every sort of Web3 website you get to, you connect your wallet with all your NFTs in it, all your crypto, everything you want to have in there, you connect it to the wallet. So let's say there's this very, very cool project we should talk more about next time called Friends with Benefits. It's this like crypto community. I think you have to apply to get in. And it's like supposedly like the coolest, most cutting edge artists and designers and programmers and like cool people that are doing interesting projects. And they've like created this crypto community, and for instance, they have a newsletter where they summarize all the coolest conversations they've been having on their Discord channel. But to read it, you need to own one Friends with Benefits token. So you go on to whatever you buy a Friends with Benefits token, you click the Chrome plugin to connect your wallet. And then this website looks into your wallet and says, oh, you have one FWB token. You can now access the newsletter. So when you bought the token, it might've been $5. Now, maybe it's worth $75. But in order to be part of this community, you have to literally buy into it, and you have to own sort of a token that they sell. And in order to vote on maybe where they have their next party, you connect your wallet and they look into it. And if you don't have 5 FWB tokens, you can't vote on where the next party is. So that's as far as I've gotten. And it's I think that's pretty interesting so far.
Yeah.
Like practically that's how it works.
Conceptually, how is
that
different? How is that different than a ticket? Right? You buy a ticket to a thing. I guess it's more that it's indefinite. You forever have ownership in this club.
Yeah, what's different is if I could also start a website and I can say, show me your FWB token to get in. Like it's almost like, let's say Facebook sold a token. When I go onto Twitter, I can't show Twitter my Facebook token because it's on Facebook. It's not in my possession. It's in my Facebook personality's possession, but this gives it to you as a user, and you have the freedom to do with it what you want. Where it's like, if I went to Twitter and I was like, hey, I want to show you my Facebook messages, it's like, no, they'd have to come up with a contract and a deal where you connect Facebook Messenger to Twitter on their end, and then I could do it. This is like, I'll just connect my wallet and you can see all the messages I send on every platform.
Yeah.
So it is like having a ticket that you put into your wallet, but you can take from venue to venue.
Yes. So the only thing I'm having trouble with is, how is the NFT token more than the ticket you're describing? Like, there's something else to it. This ownership
an
component.
NFT and a token are two different things.
Non-fungible token.
Yeah.
Non-fungible token.
Well, yeah. An NFT is a non-fungible token. A token is a fungible token that you could exchange with anyone else, and it wouldn't make a difference which one you're holding. But I don't think that's what you're asking. So what
I'm
were
just
you
saying this whole concept of where I get confused on this is, one thing is a digital asset that grants you access to certain things, whether they be clubs, events, or even status, right? That all makes sense to me rationally. You own this thing and it means something. It means I can go to this conference, I can get access to this Discord or this website or this service because I have this picture, and it's valuable because of what it can get me as a means of exchange for something. The other piece of it is trading on that NFT and the whole market for trading and on the percentage that you own of it and making money that way. Yeah. To me, it's like, I traded $1 for $1, and I know what dollars can get me, but what do you mean you're trading dollars? Because my brain is farty there.
Yeah, I mean, no, that's speculative, and it doesn't quite make sense. Yeah, it doesn't really make any sense. It might make sense right now. That's a bet that Bitcoin will be used for something useful in the future, and there's only a finite amount of it. So if it's used a lot more, the price is going to go up because people want it more. But right now it's not used, and the price should not be moving at all. It only moves because people are speculating that perhaps one day in the future it'll go up. I
actually think I can explain it because I saw a video from Gary V, of all people, explaining his VFriends NFTs, because he launched an NFT series called VFriends, right? His own NFTs, they're doodle drawings, digitized. And he explained to an audience, I wish I could find the clip because he actually said it and I'm like, he goes,
where was he speaking?
It's a TikTok thing, and I don't know, some conference. Okay. He goes, he's like, over the past month, since we launched VFriends, I've made $9 million upon the launch of VFriends. Last night, while I slept, I made $246,000 on the royalties I accumulated from people trading on my VFriends, on my doodle drawings. 9 months ago, I didn't know what an NFT was. But when they came out, I spent 50 hours learning everything I could about NFTs, and that's how I made money with NFTs. Now, I guess a Gary V NFT means something to people, but he explained the two components of it. People bought VFriends, so he made money from people valuing his doodles on the artistic aesthetic side of it. And then people traded his NFTs to each other, and he made royalties on that. So that's how somebody's benefiting from releasing their NFT art forms into the world.
That's the benefit for artists, right? Because every time, right now in the art market, if I sell my painting for $10, I become huge, and that buyer sells it for $10 million. I don't see any of that 10 million. With NFTs, it's built in that the money comes back to the original painter, the original artist, every time it gets sold.
But it's limited to me.
So that's the 246,000.
Yeah, pretty wild.
That's 246,000. Yeah, no. I mean, it is crazy to me that people are buying it for that much money. I mean, I think there's a lot of kids out there, like literal kids, like teenagers and people in their 20s, who made $50-100 million on Bitcoin and Ethereum. Nobody really, I don't think anyone even knows. They probably don't even tell people. And they have stupid, maybe not even that much. Let's say they made $850,000 in the last 4 years. And they have stupid amounts, and they're like, I'll who cares? I'll spend $25,000 on a Gary Vee thing. It's monopoly money to a lot of kids, and I think that's driving a lot of what's going on.
All I can tell you is I walked.
But we got to wrap up, right?
Shortly, yeah. But I walked by a Bitcoin mining shop in 2013. It said, buy Bitcoin here. At that time, it was like 10 cents a Bitcoin.
Really?
And I keep flashing back. I was in New York City just walking. Maybe it was earlier than 2013. Maybe it was 2009, like way early. And I'm like, what's Bitcoin? Somebody else was telling me. I'm like, it's a digital currency. Of course, I was like, walked away. 10 cents a Bitcoin. And I sometimes when I'm like, oh, crap, and things are getting tight, and I'm like, oh, if I had just bought 1,000 Bitcoin for $50.
Yeah.
Now, it's not like that, though. I mean, it is for some people, and you hear these stories. It's not that easy. It can't be that easy to have made that money. You have to be ridiculous. But it wouldn't have hurt to just buy it. Right? And I think to myself, I'd be like a multimillionaire right now, and I would have just cashed out. And that's crazy that potentially
a lot of people did that, but they lost.
What did you lose?
They lost the hard drives or whatever.
Really?
No, because like they bought it in 2013, in 2015. It still
before there was an
anything.
app store.
Oh yeah, there's a story about a guy. There's a story about a guy who was. Well, no, he was in like 2006, like very, very, very early. Whatever, he had $500 million. He had it all on a hard drive. His wife threw it out by accident, and he was like, whatever. That sucks, but whatever. Now it's worth $500 million, and he's trying to raise money to excavate the landfill where he threw it out because it's worth it. Like, because there's $500 million on the bottom of a landfill somewhere in like Wales, and he's trying to raise money to do it. But meaning like you could have bought that money, you probably would have lost it along the way somewhere. Mm-hmm. But also think about those guys, those weirdos who opened that shop. They may have $1 billion. It's not so crazy to think they're billionaires now, and they're weirdos, who just have this money to play with, and they're doing crazy things.
It doesn't make me feel better for passing on it. I just mean, of all the struggles of trying to make a living and make money and do what you do and be successful, like it also just all could have been that easy. I think sometimes. Wow. Like that hurts a little bit to think of everything we're doing and every way and grinding and posting and this, that to build the thing and pay and monetize and or I could have bought 100 Bitcoin for 10 cents a pop, spent $50 and been a zillionaire. It could have happened. It's a silly thing to kick yourself about, but it's like for somebody they did that then, and now they're worth $8 million.
Yeah.
Or $80 million.
Yeah. Yeah,
it's possible.
Yep. A friend of mine had something similar, but it was for like $100,000. Someone asked him to invest $100,000 into like a mining operation in also like 2014, 2015, and he didn't. And
Bitcoin mining.
Yeah, early on.
Yeah.
Like,
ouch.
Whatever.
It's all going to crash too. At
whatever.
Some point. The bubble will crash. But
maybe I don't think so. But
this
is an investment podcast, and you should be taking our advice. No, I'm kidding. Don't do that.
It's not. It's turning into it's making me uncomfortable. But any final thoughts?
I don't think does it have to bust. I'm proud of us for doing 10. I hope it continues. I think we've gotten a lot better. Mm-hmm. I think we're zeroing in on conversations that you and me are better at having than other people that we're more suited for. I like that we're ruffling some feathers with friends who tell us to shut our mouths about politics because we don't know what we're talking about and we're spreading misinformation. I don't disagree. But I'm excited to see where we're at. I'm excited to see where we're at in another 10. And thanks to everyone who's been commenting and listening and giving us some encouragement.
For your hot takes going forward, some things that we've touched on but not enough or haven't touched yet, what do you want to see on the Buckle Up podcast going forward? What are some things you want to pick?
I want to hear you talk more about your depression. Mm-hmm. I personally find this Web3 conversation really thrilling. Mm-hmm. I think it's the thing that the people who drive technology forward in terms of the people who are investing and building things, it's the thing there most excited about, which means it's going to be something because that's where the money is flowing. And I think it's cool to be talking about it at this stage. And I find it cool. I don't know if anyone else finds it interesting. And yeah, I like the creative process stuff. I think
that's all good.
I don't think I've zeroed in quite on how to define it or articulate it, but I want to delve more into that.
What about God?
What about you? God, not really. Do you want to?
I want to be like, it's just like legit, or I find that the communal and individual, I don't want to. No, to me, I'm interested in the fact that, as you start to raise kids and become part of the community and do these important things, there's an interesting space for spiritual matters in general that I feel like everybody buys in, but also doesn't in some ways. There's this weird relationship that the community and the individual in the world that we come from has with all things spiritual and religious. I find it's very sometimes autopilot and sometimes ill-defined, and very often ill-defined, what some of these big abstract concepts are, but we still learn about them. Don't you find in the Orthodox world that we come from, it's people learn Torah, right? But do they deeply conceptualize it, and is it personal, or is it fitness for them? Is it this is what we do? I find that
I have very strong opinions about that.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I say God, but I'm talking that space of
right.
Where are people really at, and what do they really think about, and what value do they derive from these pursuits?
Yeah.
Learning and all of that stuff. How deep does it go for people, and what does it mean to people? Because I make jokes all the time about it being sometimes lost on me a little bit, spacing out in this particular, not to get too inside baseball about it, but a shear or something like that. And I'm just grappling with a little bit with everybody's relationship to it and what it actually means. And we probably come at it from slightly different angles. I might be a little more snag about it. Snag is an inside term for dry about it.
Rational,
I think the snag and the chassid debate is a good one.
Yeah, well, I think as it pertains especially to creative pursuits, I think is our sweet spot I really like the conversation we had about why modern Orthodox people tend to go into certain professions.
Yeah.
And I think it ties into that, and also having guests on of people from our community who have done very interesting things to us.
So guests is the next thing too.
Guests. We have a couple minds. Yeah, I'm excited to have some guests on and talk to them about this type of stuff for sure. Yeah. And I'm excited I've been coughing since episode 2. I'm excited to maybe make it through an episode without coughing. Yeah.
Did pretty well today. It came up a few times.
We should do a GoFundMe.
I listened to, shout out to David Bashevsky, who was on a podcast recently talking about Jews and money and the relationship of Jews to money and the lack of transparency, and how we hold these people who make so much money up on a pedestal and not other people. And yet we raise people with this incredible emphasis on making so much money, and pair that with also complete financial illiteracy most of their life, which is so fascinating. I
need to check that episode out.
It's so good. I'm in the middle. I'm at the end of it now. The 3/4 of the way. You should check it out. You'll really like it.
I love his podcast. Actually, I like 1840, right? David Bashevsky.
This isn't his podcast. He's a guest. 1840. Yeah. Shout out to 1840. This is him as a guest on someone else's podcast. It's very five-townsy. I don't know the name of it. It's we can show notes it.
All right.
But it's
I'll check it out in the show notes.
It's very 5 pounds. They're talking about money and finance and kind of explaining. But he makes the point of how we're basically raising a generation of people. They worship Gevirim, but they don't worship Gedolim, or maybe worse, the Gevirim are the Gedolim. It's ridiculous.
You don't understand. It's not normal. It's not like a normal thing. It's not a normal thing.
The idea of financial illiteracy.
Impression.
It's not a normal thing.
It's not normal. It's not a normal thing.
I don't know who or what that is, but I like that. But anyway, that's a great podcast to check out. And this idea of financial illiteracy and make a ton of money. And it's like, you're not teaching prudence and investment and these kinds of things, like the value of money and how it all works and functions as basic fundamentals. We're just like, I like that space of, okay, college is over. Bye-bye. Go for it. Do it. Oh, you want to do something out of the box? Okay. I don't know how that works. Bye-bye. Ta-da. There's very little in place for, the continued sort of conversation. You're just kind of just like, backpacks off. What do we do? You ask a few questions, you ask a few people, and then it just begins. There's no consciousness to it,
And you look, and some friends somehow have a lot of money, and some friends don't somehow, and no one talks about it.
No one talks about it, and then it becomes a thing where you're like 10 years in, and some people actually become conscious of maybe I want to do something, and then people go, "Oh, you're being weird." Now you're having like a midlife thing. Oh, now he's into like all of a sudden he's doing. It becomes this like judgment. Oh my God, did you hear that he's like starting his own thing? Oh my God, it becomes this like thing like, oh, you're not just going along with it, but really that should have happened 10 years earlier, but you just didn't because you weren't. You didn't know you had that option.
And then there are also people who are like 10 years in, like I really just want to be a lawyer and make a really nice living so I can do the things I want to do.
Yeah, that happens too.
Like I wish I had thought about this when I was 22 and not 35, But
the lack of the consciousness of looking inward and saying, okay, what can you do? What do you like? No one's even given that. You're just supposed to be like, okay, pick the major, follow the major, screw the major, do this thing, done. Like, it's just this lack of sort of, self-exploration to like that's stigmatized as that's a little weird. It's just given this aura of like off-putting, like, it's what's the word? It's like it's frowned upon in a way. It's met with judgment. It's met with like, all right, good luck with that. Good luck with It's met with a sort of harshness that can be very discouraging. And the people who can muscle through that judgment end up getting a lot of praise for it. If they succeed, right?
Yeah.
But I saw one of these viral TikToks went around. You know what? It's like inspirational music. You know what the reality is? No one gives a fuck about you. No one wants you to succeed. Nobody cares that you succeed. Nobody cares what you're doing. Nobody believes in you. That's what it is. Nobody believes in you. Nobody believes in what you're doing. Only you can believe in yourself. It's only once you succeed that they'll congratulate you, but it's going to take a long time to get there. You got to believe in yourself because nobody else does. That's the reality. You want to hear the hard truth? Nobody cares. Nobody's thinking about you. Nobody believes in you. So you got to believe in you or no one does. And then when you see it, they'll all go, wow, amazing. And I'm sure a lot of people can attest to that.
And that guy is dead now.
I think so.
Shortly thereafter, he died.
And no one cared.
No one cared.
That is Buckle Up episode 10. What's interesting about Zoom, Michael, is the internet delay is fucking with our timing.
Yeah.
Every time I say nice.
There's something different about talking. People say being in person is so important, but I think not being in person is better.
Yeah, that is. You don't believe that at all. That is as troll as it gets because that's awful.
That being in person is better.
You don't believe that being on Zoom is better than being in person.
No. But there is something. I haven't been on Zoom. I mean, really, in like 6 months. I have no business on Zoom. Mm-hmm. And there is something nice about it, having stepped away for a long time. But no, I think in person is nice and important. Yeah, and it keeps you from going crazy. Yeah,
right.
So if you're listening to this, do not go to Hotel Cafe tonight because we're not recording it live. The show's already passed, but good luck tonight.
Thank you. I got to go do my ritual.
You're welcome.
No one come near me. Buckle Up episode 10.